Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A CloudFoundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
Obviously, we have to implement some automation tools. The product will take care of the remaining activity. Whatever activity used to be performed by the access provisioning team, everything can be automated with the help of IAM product IAM tool. It could be SailPoint, Savian, Forge, anything. But here we are going to learn about SailPoint. We will consider SailPoint IAQ as an IAM product. Let me recap the same scenario once again. We have a new joining whose name is James Smith. Obviously, he is going to join any FinCap organization. HR people will approach it, and HR people will gather all the required information, including users' personal data. And the data will be uploaded in the HR system. When I'm referring HR system, I mean to say HR application. The HR application is responsible to store all the new join information. The data will be stored over here. Then this data will be passed into manual access provisioning team. And they are responsible to create a point in all the required necessary application access. That user can access Outlook. User can schedule a meeting. User can apply leads. User can access all the business portal, business application portal, everything. This team is responsible to create an account. Similarly, if James Smith is going to leave an organization, obviously he's going to inform his manager. His manager will inform HR team. And HR team will update those when user last date in their portal. The same info will be passed into manual access provisioning team. As of now, here I'm going to name them as manual access provisioning team. But in real time, the team name could be something different. IDM team access provisioning team, anything. Our AIM team operational team. They are responsible. What they will do? They will log in into all the application and they will try to delete James Smith account. And this is how provisioning used to happen till last decade. This is what manual access provisioning reprovisioning. And we can call it as legacy. I mean, as of now, it's a legacy process. We are not following this process anymore. We have to implement some automation because they are getting a lot of requests. They are not able to manage. We implemented SailPoint in real-time environment. One of the use cases would be to SailPoint can implement automation. That SailPoint can create all the accounts for the user new joining. From Workday is one of the applications. SailPoint is another application. Now the data needs to be communicated from HR application to SailPoint. Before that, can someone name few HR applications which is available in the market other than Workday? Because since you are a SailPoint techie, you should be more familiar with HR applications. As SAP HCM is one of the applications. Then SAP SuccessFactors. Correct? SAP SuccessFactors. Then Ramco, I think. Go ahead. Ramco system, I think one more. Ramco system, I never heard. Maybe it could be HR application. There is no doubt. Have you heard SuccessFactors? PeopleSoft, Tactile, PeopleSoft, Employee Central. Employee Central is part of SuccessFactors, right? Now it's part of, but initially it was an individual application. separate application. Oracle SAPIP. These are they are having different HR applications, C, M and all. We have many products available in the market. I would say most of the organization will prefer to have Workday SuccessFactors. PeopleSoft. These are the applications we can consider as a HMS application. When it comes to HMS, we can call it an authoritative application as it. What is authoritative application? Authoritative application is a trusted source where SailPoint can rely for the authenticity of the data. SailPoint always. It will rely on HR application only for the authenticity of the data. That is the reason for HR application. We will call it as an authoritative application. The remaining application, we can call it as non-authoritative application. Is that clear? Because in real time you may call it as authoritative. What is non-authoritative? We are saying because the data is directly going into Workday. It is authoritative. It is not dependent on elsewhere, external party and all that. That is where you call it as authority. What is non-authoritative? If you can explain that. Authoritative means SailPoint can trust the application data since it's R. Why it can trust and why it is? Because let's say if user is going to join an organization, if user is going to leave an organization, maybe he is getting promoted. His designation is going to get changed. All these data changes will be performed in the HR application first. And according to these changes, event will be triggered. These are the events, right? According to the event, we have to add access. We have to remove the access. It could be manual process. It could be automated process. That's secondary, but these events are triggering and we have to relay. We have to rely on the authenticity of the data. That's where we have to rely on HR application. Because of that reason, we can consider HR application as an authoritative application. The remaining application, remaining business application, whatever changes can be happening in this account level, SailPoint is not going to rely on those authenticity of the data. You can consider those applications as a non-auth application. Is it clear now? Now first, the data needs to be flowed from HR application to SailPoint. In order to achieve that, first you need to onboard this application within SailPoint, which means SailPoint needs to communicate with target application. Then SailPoint will aggregate the data. Is that right? SailPoint should aware where the data has been reside. What will be the credential to access the source data? That's why we need to onboard this HR application within SailPoint. Application onboarding is the process of integrating any application within SailPoint that SailPoint can communicate. If you want to onboard any application within SailPoint, we need a connector. Connector is nothing. It's a mediator between any target application and SailPoint. SailPoint is our application. We can consider all other remaining application as a target application. If you want to integrate any target application within SailPoint, you need a connector. First point. Now we onboarded this HR application and we are going to fetch the data from HR to SailPoint. And the job will be run in SailPoint. That SailPoint can communicate with our application and the data will be flowed from HR to SailPoint. The process, you can call it as aggregation, which means aggregation is the process of fetching the data from any target application to SailPoint. That's what aggregation. Is that make sense? Perfect. Via that aggregation process, whenever SailPoint is going to aggregate the data from any application, identity will be created. As of now, we onboarded only one application for HR. Via that aggregation process, SailPoint will create identity. And in the first session itself, we discussed the core objective of IAM is one user or one device, non-human upon. I mean to say, should have one digital identity that we can track everything. When aggregation is going to perform by SailPoint, identity will be created. And additionally, SailPoint will notify the user by stating your identity got created in SailPoint. Your account got created in SailPoint application. This is what the credential, and you can access SailPoint application from now on. You can define email subject line, email body that SailPoint can trigger email notification to all the new joins. For two users with the same name, James, Samiti, two users, how to differentiate between creating the ID and the SailPoint? That's a good question. Whenever we are going, SailPoint is going to aggregate the data from HR application. While onboarding that application itself, we have to define. In the HR application, we will have n number of users, plenty of users. How do we differentiate each and every user upon? What will be the unique value? If the unique value matches, then what should we do? Should we add some suffix on the last name, first name, or how email address should be unique for all the users, right? Each and every user. If, let's say, email addresses already exist in the system, then how to calculate, how to add suffix number, something like we have to apply some logic while onboarding in the application itself. Got? It's happened automatically. Yes, automatically. Once you define the rule in the applications, it will calculate automatically and SailPoint will update. Rule will be defined in the Workday or SailPoint. In SailPoint. Whenever you are going to onboard an application, you have to define multiple rules. One action will be creation rule, and SailPoint is going to create identity. It should validate a lot of things. Like that. Go ahead. Good. Like James Smith is second user. It will be automatically added 1 or 2 as per the rule. C. James Smith is a person employee. When you first got into Workday, Workday itself is a system where it has to uniquely identify people's employment number. Maybe it is generated by Workday because Workday itself will have to recognize. That could be another possible way. Because Workday is one of the advanced applications when it comes to HR application. They would have updated all these suffix numbers. They would have created email address from there. Just we need to aggregate the data. Let's say they don't have some advanced applications. They are having some legacy applications. In legacy applications, if they are not able to figure it out, then SailPoint can do that stuff out. Both work. If Workday can do, then as of now, James Smith has two unique references. One is which Workday creates in its own record. And once Workday aggregation happened to SailPoint IQ again, SailPoint will create another unique reference. No. In that scenario, it won't create. I have to add one more point. Whenever SailPoint is going to aggregate the data, it will try to match with the existing identity, if the identity is already exist or not. Identity is a SailPoint property. For other target application, we will call it as account. When SailPoint is going to aggregate the account, then it will try to match whether do we have the same identity, the same name or not. Got. If the account is not exist, then account will be created. If it is exist, then it will be merged. Anyone in the application onboarding chapter will briefly talk about that. You guys understood, right? What is aggregation? What is connector? And identity will be created. And as you said, it can be fixed in the Workday application itself. The suffix can be added, or else from SailPoint application also suffix can be added. Some additional numbers. James Smith 1, 2, 3, something like that. Now identity got created. James Smith is a developer. Let's see. But all the new joining, all the users, we have to provide some common applications. Like we have to provide access for reimbursement application. We have to provide access for a Zoom application or WebEx or Outlook. Hypothetically, I'm not hypothetically. Overall, I'm saying for all the new joining, all the users, we have to ensure these portal access needs to be given. The application is going to be given irrespective of their job title at the department. Then we have remaining 3 applications for a free service. Now, Salesforce. These application answers will be given only for developers. Which means now James Smith is a developer. He needs this 6 application access. Now, identity got created and we implemented SailPoint to automate this process, which means if SailPoint needs to communicate this application and SailPoint has to create account automatically, which means first you have to ensure this application needs to be integrated with SailPoint with the help of connector, which means the moment you are going to onboard this with application SailPoint, first SailPoint will aggregate the data. And second, SailPoint will create James Smith account in the AD application. That process, you can call it as provisioning. Provisioning means it's all about providing access, removing access. That's what provisioning operation like create, modify, delete. Sometimes account got logged out. We have to enable. Sometimes we need to disable the account, even changing password for the user. It comes under provisioning operation. This provisioning operation and aggregation are both 2 different activities. These 2 different activities can be achieved by connector itself, means if connector has the capability to perform aggregation and provisioning, it's good. Provisioning and aggregation will be possible because of the connector itself. If connector doesn't have the capability, then provisioning is not possible. Is that clear? Another statement. Rikesha, it's not little clear. You are saying this AD right. AD nothing is nothing about. James Smith would be available in AD because he's on day 1, right? Then what this aggregation will do in the first place? Because it does not have anything about it. What if I say in Active Directory application, we have senior employee, around 1000 employees, we have. The moment you are going to onboard an application, the first step, we will try to aggregate existing data. Startup application onboarding process. Today you onboarded this application. Today evening, James will join the organization and SailPoint and communicate with Active Directory application. And if you define already for all the new joining Active Directory, account needs to be created. If user is a developer, then obviously SailPoint can create account, right? In the AD application. That will be part of provisioning. And this provisioning and aggregation, both are different activity. And these 2 activities are possible because of connecting. When for any application, provisioning and aggregation both are possible, then we can consider those application as a conforming application or connected application. Similarly, we need to onboard, especially for the existing accounts. What will happen to the disabled accounts that are already out of the organization? Let's say whether it's a disabled account, all the accounts will be aggregated into SailPoint. When we onboarded this Workday application, only the new joining account is not going to be aggregated. All the existing accounts will be aggregated into SailPoint. Via that process, new identity will be created initially. Got. Let's say in Active Directory application also, we have the same user accounts when you're going to aggregate the data from A, D to SailPoint. Those accounts will be merged into the respective identity. Got it. Regardless of the status of the identity. Correct. Whether it is disabled or enabled. Correct. You can open SailPoint. You can open the user profile there. You can check Active Directory account in a disabled state. Let's say a company ABC is not using any of the standardized HR sources like Workday or People's. They are using some localized version of their own application. On which they are considering that as an authoritative source. In that case, how the SailPoint will connect that application into it. First, we will try to check what connector will be feasible to integrate the application. The connector can be chosen as per where the data has been resigned. According to the answer, we can choose the connector. Let's say if the data has been reset in the database level. Then we can choose. Since it's a DB, we can go ahead with JDBC connector. Java database connectivity will come up, JDBC. In SailPoint, we have 75 plus, out of the box connector. We implemented SailPoint right. We have already implemented 75 plus connector. Free defined connector. Using any one of these connectors, SailPoint can aggregate the data from, as you said, non-standardized HR application. Alright. You guys are clear what is provisioning, what is connector aggregation. Provisioning and aggregation is only possible if connector has the capability enough to manage these. And if both are possible, then we can consider those application as a conforming application or connected application. Let's say we have an application called Zoom application. For all the new joinees, Zoom account also needs to be created that they can schedule a meeting right. I'm going to explain this scenario hypothetically. It's not related to real time. First, we need to onboard this application within SailPoint. And we can aggregate the data. But the connector is not capable enough to perform provisioning, which means once you onboard this application, SailPoint cannot create this account in Zoom application directly because provision is not possible. What will you do in that scenario? We will use some directory services. And directory services mean virtual directory services. Now I can create account in Zoom application. SailPoint cannot create because the connector doesn't have the permission. The Zoom connector doesn't have the permission. Permission doesn't have permission. Because of the connection to create account. We are talking about automation. Automatically, SailPoint cannot create the account in Zoom. Because the connector doesn't have the permission. That's the only thing that we can do in our capability. We have to perform. In this case, we need to add some connectors or we might need to build a UJ web service or APIs. Correct? That's another approach. Instead of Zoom connector, we have to rely on some other customized connector type. We can create a Zoom ID on the Zoom portal anyway. But aggregation with the SailPoint. Once aggregation is complete, we do the correlation between the SailPoint identity and Zoom identity. I think it's good. We can do the correlation as a secondary thing. But here my question is, who is supposed to create a bond in Zoom application when SailPoint cannot create? Because it's a non-conforming or disconnected application. Because only aggregation is possible. Provisioning is not possible. In that scenario, we are going to consider those applications as a non-conforming or a disconnected application. My question is, we have a requirement. We have a condition, 3 different condition rule, where all the new joining should have Zoom application. Here, my question is, who is supposed to create the account here? The application owner or user management team. Correct. Are we going to approach them directly or SailPoint is going to approach them? SailPoint can send the notification, or that could be one way. Correct. I can manually delete it. What SailPoint it will do? SailPoint knows, since it's a non-conforming application, we cannot create a code. SailPoint will create an internal ticket, and the internal ticket will be assigned to the respective application team, or you can call it as manual access provisioning, whatever it could be. That team will receive an internal ticket. We will call it as work item. Once internal ticket has been assigned to them, the team is responsible to create a phone in the Zoom application. Is it clear? They will manually create and then they close the ticket. Is it? It's a manual application. It's a manual process of creating an account. But then what is the point? What is the usefulness of having the aggregation? Because ultimately provisioning is not there. How is it beneficial? When provisioning is not possible, then what is the point of onboarding this type of application? Any one of you? The only benefit is that from one central place, we can have the data that this user is getting created in this user having the do account access also. Exactly. We can review for audit. It's all about centralized access. Let's say if your manager wants to review James Smith profile, then he is going to open James Smith profile. Initially, he can see user is having only 5 applications except Zoom. Because Zoom is not onboarded within SailPoint. If Zoom is onboarded, then data would have been aggregated into SailPoint. Then the account would have been merged with James Smith identity, from where his manager can see James Smith is having Zoom application upon and we need to review. If you took a decision to remove the account, then again SailPoint will create internal ticket with this application team to remove James Smith upon from Zoom application. Again, they have to remove it manually and they will complete the worker the internal ticket. This is how provisioning is. Provisioning will happen for provision or the provision will happen for non-conforming applications. This is the same. It's 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 the same process. Is there any turnaround time for the work item for the manual access to heating? What we can implement? If I'm not wrong, by default 7 days the work item will be active. After that it will expire. 7 days. We can extend the time. We can change the work item priority. We can send a reminder email, escalation email. We can do that. Let's say if any system which cannot be onboarded here, That is a disconnected system and there's some access need to be assigned. Let's say we have the question, but we cannot save and cannot perform provisioning. Those application we can call it as non-conforming or a disconnected. My question is, let's say 5 access has been requested. Once 5 accesses get assigned, all 5 access requests get updated in the SailPoint also, unless the request is rejected. And here also in the user, if I check the user data and I will check that those disconnected system rules or access has been assigned in the SailPoint. Because my application, the data will be fetched from the target application. In this scenario, from Zoom application, SailPoint will aggregate the data for James Smith Wright. And that same data, same upon details, will be updated in the James Smith identity. Which means even if I close the ticket without actually creating Zoom account, it doesn't matter because SailPoint will know the next day that Zoom actually not created, right? It's not created. Somebody will aggregate. It's a foolproof and provisioning status will be changed completed. Correct. Then as a SailPoint engineer, we have to troubleshoot. If they ask the ticket is completed but user is not able to access. That's why SailPoint engineer will pitch in and they will troubleshoot. They will identify the root cause. Correct. What item is completed, but actually they haven't created, the account. Top of the box connector. If it is, as it is available in SailPoint, it would be like a plugin. Place it, Rakesh, it would be more convenient without much of an effort for very stable systems like Salesforce or Exact, right? We can easily integrate all these standard application. Because that's the reason we have more than 75,000. You can name it. We have the connect. I would say Soundify connectors or no one connector can have connection with multiple systems or Soundify systems. Totally. No one. Let's say we have a, if we have an application in the workday, right? Using the connector, you can onboard 75 different types of applications. Like that. But the world has a lot of applications. We have a connector using the same connector. You can onboard the different type of. But world today, a lot of applications and a lot of systems and a lot of companies. Soundify looks to be small. Maybe all no names are there, but Soundify. No names are there. All the AIM applications use it easily. You can integrate. Let's say you don't have a connector. Then we can build the connector. If there is an actual requirement. Let's say you have application name called XYZ. Actually, they are looking for the only for certification process, only for access review process purpose. They want to onboard this application within SailPoint. You have to have a connector, but when you actually try to onboard, you identify we don't have a connector. Then what can you do? You have to upload a little bit. You can build the connector. If provision is required, or else you can ask application to provide their data source data in an Excel sheet or in the database format, right? Then for that we have a connector, direct connector. Using the direct connector, we can aggregate the data from different sources. It happened in real time. I hope you guys understood. What is the authoritative application? Non-auth application aggregation provisioning collector. You did not clarify non-conforming. If other non-conforming is both aggregator and provisioning, both is not there. That is also non-conforming. Is it? We won't integrate those. We won't integrate those application right. When aggregation also it's not possible. Then we won't integrate those application. Standalone application. SailPoint is not responsible for those type of application. When it comes to certification, I mean governance compliance, it will be done it manually. SailPoint is not responsible. Got it? We can onboard the Azure NTID and AWS as well. We have a direct connector. Just give me a minute. I'll walk you through all the connectors directly. We can also manage the identity as well, like that roles and group as well. Right? Correct. We can manage all the permissions, basically roles and title, one group capability, everything. Let's say standard connectors are available to then how much time it will take to connect with that system and onboard and to the provision. Here's a very important part is you have to collaboratively work together with application team to gather the information. Like where the data has been recycled, what will be the credential to access the data, what type of data we need to aggregate. First, we have to conduct a meeting with them to gather the data. Once we have all the required information, we can onboard within couple of hours. Got. I have clicked on Add New Application. From this application type, we will have more than 75 plus out-of-the-box connector. You were talking about Azure. We have a data connector Azure Active Directory. We have Workday. We have SuccessFactors. We have rack of application top load. These are the mainframe application, right? For Oracle related, IBM and Tivoli. We have most of the IAM applications. deepen Microsoft. ServiceNow Salesforce SQL Loader. Got. Top secret CBase Unix Web Services WebEx. These are the connectors. One thing. ServiceNow can also be used for the onboarding purpose, like that of Workday, I think. ServiceNow is a ticketing tool, right? Basically, we can onboard that application within SailPoint. Because every user need access ServiceNow application to submit request. Let's say we have to submit different type of ticket, not request ticket. I would say like incident ServiceNow, I mean service ticket, problem ticket, change request, right? Every user should have access on ServiceNow. If, then obviously we can onboard ServiceNow application using the direct connector. That SailPoint can create a phone for all the user. Got. And for these connectors, Rakesh, both for both side, both provisioning as well as aggregation. That depends on the connector. We cannot see directly. We have a connector called delimiter. The delimiter connector, it still aggregates the data. It is supposed to aggregate the data. It cannot perform provisioning of it. Similarly, your voice is breaking. Little it's breaking sometimes, Rakesh. Now it's clear. Please go ahead. Now it's clear. We have a list of connectors like JDBC loader delimiter connectors. These are the type of connector which cannot perform provisioning operation. If you're going to onboard these steps using this connector, If you're going to onboard any application using this connector, then stay it away. It's a non-conforming application. Then, if you guys are clear, then shall we talk about other terminology also? On top of that, you know what is identity, right? You understood all non or target application. That's fine. What is identity? Any one of you? Identity is like a set of digital data which uniquely defines something. Could be like a user authorization, anything. Right. In SailPoint, identity is the main object I use. Using this identity, SailPoint keeps track of everything. Identity belongs to, it could be living person or non-living object, anything. Whenever there is a user, obviously identity will be created. If it is devices, non-living object, also identity will be created. And identity is a safe and proper identity. It could be person. Identity could be service upon write. In SailPoint, everything, all the activity revolves around identity. I would say it's like a master data, but every user, every devices. That's why I said that's the core objective of IAM also. Whether it's user or device, it should have one digital identity. Is that clear? Then what is a code? Accounting like creating the same identity in the connected systems. As I said, identity is a SailPoint property. Actually, it's one of the account, but for SailPoint application, we will call it as identity because SailPoint is a centralized access application, centralized access control. But for the target application, whoever it could be SailPoint, it could be any team. If they are going to create any application account on the target application, we will call it as account. What is orphan identity, orphan account? Orphan accounts are generally the accounts which are not associated with any actual users. Or maybe, for example, let's say I'm working as a contractor for any company and then I become the employee of the company. And then my old account will become the orphan account because it's not. It might be active in the system, but it's not associated with any actual user who is working for the organization. Then what is orphan identity? What is orphan identity? Any one of you? Orphan account is fine. What is orphan identity? Orphan identity will be inside the SailPoint and orphan account will be inside the target system, target application. Orphan identity means, let's say if we have an identity, but the identity doesn't have any application account. Those kinds of identity we can consider as an orphan identity, which means the identity is inactive or in a withdrawn state for maybe the user already left an organization. SailPoint would have removed all the application account from the target application. We can consider those identity as an orphan identity. Is that clear? Account which doesn't have roles or attributes, entitlements or anything, just account is created. Account is created. Account will have all the permissions also. When we are supposed to remove an account, all the permission also needs to be removed. Got? Then you guys are clear. What is a orphan identity and all? And what is entitlement? The access assigned to the user. To the application. Basically, entitlement is a permission on the target application. Because for all the user, we are not going to provide the same level of access, right? According to their roles and responsibility, Permission needs to be assigned for some set of users. We need to provide access only for validation. They can view, they can validate, but they cannot modify anything for some set of users. We need to provide create permission for some users. We need to provide delete permission that they can delete the existing data. They can create the existing data. This is what permission, and on the other term, we can call it a entitlement. I would say entitlement is authorization on the target application. Got. Such as read-only admin access like that. Read-only access, write-only access, right? We can categorize also. Basically, entitlement is the authorization on the target application, and every application will have their own entitlement. Got it. And when it comes to entitlement, we have a different phrases. All we can call it as capability. We can call it as group. We can call it as permission access right. These phrases are referring same thing called entitlement. These entitlements will be inherited from the target application. A SailPoint can create its own entitlement on behalf of those applications. Both possible. Oh, both are possible. Both are possible. Most of the time, we will aggregate the entitlement from the target application. In case if application team want us to create the entitlement, which is possible, we can do that. Again, it's related to provisioning only, right? Creating some item, correct? And if the connector can perform this, then obviously if it is a confirming application, then say one can create the account. Got. What is life cycle management or life cycle event? Have you heard this? Basically, life cycle management is managing the user access, user data from onboarding to onboarding. Exact end-to-end process of managing all the users throughout their life. We can organize it. The life cycle management is all about the throughout the user life cycle. If user is going to join, we have to ensure all the new application access needs to be given all the application access. If user is going to leave an organization, all the existing application account access needs to be removed, including permission. Throughout their life cycle, we have to monitor. That's what life cycle management, and it applies to devices also, which mean it could be user. It could be devices as well for throughout their life cycle. We have to manage everything. Then you guys understood what is onboarding. What is offboarding, right? Onboarding is applicable for a user. Also onboarding is applicable for application. Also user onboarding application. Or user onboarding means the process of onboarding. I mean then whenever the new employee is going to join. And when I'm talking about user, user could be employee, user could be contractor, a joint ventures partners also. Right. When there is a user is going to join an organization, obviously SailPoint will initiate further transaction to provide all the necessary application access. That's what onboarding. If you want to integrate any application within SailPoint, that SailPoint can perform provisioning. That's what application onboarding. Then we have certification and all any other way for certification. We have a separate chapter. We'll talk about that later. And other than that, entitlement rule access certification. We'll talk about that. You understood what is work item, right? Basically, I would say it's an internal ticket. Work item means it's an internal ticket. When there is a manual intervention is required, SailPoint will trigger work item. Let's take an example. When we are going to submit request for one of the user, that request will require certain level of approval, which means SailPoint is supposed to get the approval from his manager. Here we require manual intervention from the manager, right? SailPoint will trigger work item. SailPoint will generate work item to get the approval from his manager. Similarly, SailPoint, if any manual intervention action required, obviously SailPoint will trigger work item. For aggregation, we have other time called reconciliation also. Aggregation and reconciliation both are same. These are the terminologies every user should understand. And I hope you guys are clear. The difference. I mean far, you guys are clear. Do you know the difference between authentication and authorization or not? Any one of you the difference between authentication and authorization? Authentication is like putting the user ID and password to enter into the system. And what is authorization? Authorization means you must have some access to access something. When you enter inside the system, then you have the access. Like, for example, we have the ID card to enter in the building, but we should have the access to open the rooms or access the computer inside the building. Authentication is all about first. Say, one will ensure whether it's actually you or not. How say one is going to authenticate using your credential. Sometimes it requires some additional factors also, such as we have to enter our recipient, secure ID, and also that's a plan. Can ensure only authorized person can access the system. This is what authentication. It's a process of authentic authenticate of the user. Any user authorization means whether the person can access the system. Particular user has the permission to access the target application or not. Whether user is authorized to access the particular menu, particular application or not. That's what authorization. Both are different. Authorization and authentication. That's it, guys. That's all for today. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.